Imagine a house fire where 5 children vanish, and no remains are ever found. Imagine a centuries-old book filled with strange drawings and written in a language no one on Earth can read. Imagine a passenger plane disappearing in modern skies, with satellites and radar watching, and yet leaving almost no trace behind. These are not works of fiction. They are real stories, real mysteries, cases that investigators, scientists, and experts have spent decades trying to solve. Yet every answer only seems to bring more questions. In this episode of The Witness Archives, we'll dive into 5 of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in the world. Each story is stranger than the last, and by the time you reach the end, you may find yourself questioning what is real and what is possible. So settle in, turn down the lights if you dare, and let's begin with our first mystery: the haunting disappearance of the Sodder children. It was Christmas Eve, 1945, in the small town of Fayetteville, West Virginia. The Sodder family, George, his wife Jenny, and their 10 children, were gathered in their 2-story home, celebrating the holiday. Like many families, they exchanged gifts, enjoyed a festive meal, and prepared for a quiet night. But what began as a joyful evening would turn into one of the most baffling and heartbreaking mysteries in American history. Shortly after midnight, while most of the family slept, Jenny awoke to a strange sound on the roof, something like a heavy object landing and rolling. She dismissed it and went back to bed. But not long after, smoke began to fill the home. Flames erupted quickly, racing through the wooden structure. In a panic, George and Jenny rushed to gather their children. 4 of them escaped with their parents, but 5 of the youngest, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, remained upstairs in their bedrooms. George tried desperately to reach them. He ran to grab his ladder, which he always kept against the side of the house, but it was missing. He attempted to use his trucks, parked nearby, to climb onto the roof, but bizarrely, both trucks refused to start, even though they had been working perfectly the day before. Within minutes, the house was engulfed in flames. The parents could only watch in horror as the home collapsed. By morning, the fire had reduced the house to ashes. Investigators searched for the remains of the 5 missing children, but nothing was found. No bones, no fragments, not even traces of human remains. This baffled experts, because even in fires that burn extremely hot, bone fragments are almost always left behind. To add to the mystery, tests later showed that the fire hadn't been hot enough to completely destroy human bodies. The official conclusion was that the children had perished in the blaze, but George and Jenny refused to believe it. They began to suspect that their children hadn't died in the fire at all, that they had been kidnapped, and soon evidence began to support this terrifying possibility. Witnesses came forward with strange accounts. One woman claimed she saw the children in a car the night of the fire, watching the flames from the back seat. Another woman insisted she saw them at a rest stop in South Carolina, accompanied by strangers. A hotel worker in Kentucky swore she saw the children a week later, staying with 2 men and 2 women. Even more unsettling were the clues that surfaced years after the tragedy. The Sodders received a photograph in the mail, showing a man in his 20s. On the back, someone had written a cryptic note suggesting it was one of their sons, Louis, now grown. Was it really him? No one could prove it, but the resemblance was striking. Over time, theories spread. Some believed the family was targeted because George Sodder had been outspoken in criticizing Mussolini and the Italian fascist regime, making enemies in his immigrant community. Others suspected local organized crime may have been involved. The disappearance of the Sodder children remains unsolved. Were they victims of a fire, or were they taken and hidden away, leaving their parents to search in vain? Nearly 80 years later, the case continues to haunt investigators and mystery lovers alike. Mystery 2. The Voynich Manuscript. Imagine holding a book that no one on Earth can read. A manuscript filled with words that don't exist in any known language, and illustrations of plants, stars, and symbols that seem to come from another world. That's the Voynich Manuscript, often called the most mysterious book in history. The story of the manuscript begins in 1912, when a Polish book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich purchased it from an old Italian monastery. At first glance, it looked like a medieval manuscript, with parchment pages covered in neat, flowing handwriting. But when Voynich tried to read it, he quickly realized something shocking. The text was written in a completely unknown alphabet. Page after page, hundreds in total, contained words that no one could decipher. Alongside the writing were bizarre illustrations. Some pages showed plants that didn't exist in any known botanical record. Others displayed strange diagrams of the stars, suns, moons, and zodiac signs. Perhaps the strangest images of all were those showing naked, human-like figures, mostly women, bathing in pools connected by tubes and waterways, almost as if they were part of some unknown medical or scientific experiment. Experts have spent decades trying to understand the Voynich manuscript. Cryptographers who cracked Nazi codes during World War II tried their hand at it, and failed. Linguists searched for patterns in the text, believing it might be a lost or secret language. Modern artificial intelligence has analyzed it too, attempting to find structure or meaning. Yet after more than 600 years, no one has ever managed to translate even a sin's clipage. Some researchers suggest it could be a medieval medical textbook written in code meant to protect secret knowledge. Others think it might have been a hoax created centuries ago by someone looking to make money by tricking scholars. But the parchment has been carbon dated to the early 15th century, proving the book itself is genuinely old. If it is a hoax, it has fooled the world for more than 6 centuries. Over time, theories have become wilder. Some believe the manuscript could be of extraterrestrial origin, an alien attempt to communicate knowledge in a language humans simply cannot understand. Others think it may be the work of an isolated genius, someone who invented their own alphabet and poured their life's research into this single book. But perhaps the biggest mystery is not just what the book says, but why it was written. Was it meant to hide great knowledge, or was it deliberately created to confuse? Until someone cracks the code, the Voynich manuscript will remain one of the greatest literary mysteries of all time. Mystery 3. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. In February 1959, 9 skilled hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute set off on a trek into the frozen wilderness of the Ural Mountains in Soviet Russia. The group, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, were experienced mountaineers. They planned to cross the snowy peaks and return in about 2 weeks, but they never came back. When search teams went looking, they discovered something chilling. The hiker's tent was found on the mountainside, but it had been cut open from the inside. Their boots, coats, and supplies were all still there, untouched, as if they had fled in sudden panic. Scattered across the snow, searchers eventually found the hikers' bodies. Some were only a short distance from the tent, half-dressed, despite the sub-zero temperatures. Others were discovered much farther away, in the forest. The condition of the bodies shocked investigators. Several had suffered massive internal injuries, including fractured skulls and broken ribs, but with no external wounds, almost as if they had been crushed by an invisible force. One hiker was missing her tongue, another's eyes were gone. The Soviet investigation concluded with the vague phrase, "They died due to a compelling natural force." But what that force was, no one could say. This left room for endless speculation. Some believe an avalanche forced them to flee the tent, though many argue the evidence doesn't match an avalanche scenario. Others suspect a secret Soviet military test, perhaps involving experimental weapons. Some even point to UFOs, citing glowing orbs reported in the skies around that time. Still others whisper about a Yeti attack, though that theory has little evidence beyond fear and imagination. For decades, the Dyatlov Pass incident has remained one of the most disturbing mysteries in modern history. Why would 9 experienced hikers, familiar with extreme conditions, run barefoot into the snow? What invisible terror drove them into the night? And what caused such strange, unexplained injuries? Even after new investigations in recent years, no answer has satisfied everyone. The mountains of the Urals still hold their secret, and the Dyatlov Pass remains a place forever haunted by that fateful night. Mystery 4. The Disappearance of Flight MH370. In the modern age of technology, with satellites orbiting the Earth and radar systems monitoring every flight path, it seems impossible for a large passenger plane to simply vanish. Yet in March 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared without a trace, and to this day, the mystery has not been solved. The Boeing 777 was carrying 239 passengers and crew on a routine flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Everything seemed normal until the plane suddenly veered off course less than an hour after takeoff. Air traffic controllers lost contact, and the aircraft vanished from radar. What followed was one of the most extensive searches in aviation history. Countries around the world joined the effort, scanning the Indian Ocean with ships, planes, and submarines. But despite years of searching, the wreckage of MH370 was never fully found. Only a handful of fragments, pieces of wing and fuselage, washed up on distant islands, confirming the plane had crashed somewhere in the ocean. But where and why remain unanswered. Theories abound. Some believe the plane suffered a catastrophic technical failure that caused it to fall into the sea. Others suspect hijacking. A controversial theory suggests the pilot may have deliberately taken the aircraft off course in an act of suicide. Still others whisper about government or military cover-ups, pointing to gaps in the official investigation. What makes the case so chilling is that in our interconnected world, filled with tracking systems and digital monitoring, a modern airliner could simply vanish for hours without anyone knowing what happened. The families of those aboard still live with uncertainty, never knowing exactly how or why their loved ones disappeared. To this day, MH370 remains one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. It is a reminder that even in an age of advanced technology, the sky still holds secrets that we cannot explain. Mystery 5. The Zodiac Killer. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, fear gripped Northern California. A serial killer who called himself the Zodiac began targeting young couples and lone victims, carrying out a series of brutal attacks. But what made the Zodiac unlike any other criminal was not just his violence, it was his taunting game with the public and the police. After his first confirmed murders in 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac began sending letters to newspapers. These weren't just confessions, they were filled with cryptic codes and ciphers. He demanded his messages be published, threatening further violence if ignored. His letters often mocked investigators, claiming he had killed many more people than were officially linked to him. Some of his ciphers were cracked, revealing disturbing messages about hunting humans for sport. Others remain unsolved to this day, still puzzling codebreakers more than 50 years later. The Zodiac's confirmed victims total at least 5, though he claimed as many as 37. Witnesses once saw him fleeing a crime scene, but even with descriptions and numerous suspects, his identity was never uncovered. Police interviewed countless people, from suspects in the Bay Area to possible copycats, but the Zodiac remained a ghost. Over time, theories have spread wildly. Some believe the Zodiac was a local man hiding in plain sight. Others suggest he was a member of the military, using coded knowledge from his service. In recent years, advancements in DNA technology have cracked other cold cases, but the Zodiac remains unidentified. What makes the mystery so haunting is that he could still be alive today, an old man quietly watching the world, knowing he got away with murder. Or perhaps he died decades ago, taking his true identity to the grave. The Zodiac killer case is still officially open, a reminder that some killers never face justice, and so mysteries never end. And those are 5 of the most chilling, unsolved mysteries of our time. From missing children and vanished planes to secret codes and killers who walk free, these stories remind us that not everything can be explained. Some mysteries may one day be solved, but others may remain hidden forever. Which of these mysteries do you find the most disturbing? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the unknown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you never miss a new mystery. Until next time, stay curious, keep searching for the truth, and keep watching the Witness Archives.